Hello, today I'm going to show you how to fill out the net2phone configuration document. By properly filling out this document after signing up for a net2phone hosted account, you'll be able to provide the information needed to properly set up your account so that when the phones arrive, you're ready to use your phones and your account is set up the way you'd like it. So the first tab is called Basic Information. Here you're going to fill out your basic information. So account name is your company name. So I'll fill out Test Company Co. Contact is the person who's going to be the main account holder. So I'll put John Smith, gmail.com. Put the email address, your shipping address. This is where the phones will go. So this is just the basic information about your account, where the phone should ship, who's the proper contact information, and what the company name is. Next, we go to the Extensions tab. The Extensions tab is where you're going to fill in all the information about the users that are on your account. So you start from the bottom. There's some examples up on top which you could skip over. So you want to put in the first name of the user. Once again, I'll put in John, last name Smith. Username is the combination of both names. If you want, most of the time it will be exactly the same name as first name and last name. The extension number is the extension number to be assigned to that user. Generally, it needs to be a 4-digit extension, and we ask that the 4 digits begin with the numbers 2 through 8 to properly use our system. So for example, I could put here extension 3001. Outbound call ID number is the number that will be displayed when John Smith places an outbound call from his extension 3001. So we'll go ahead and put in a number. Now I'm putting in a fake number. Obviously, it has to be a number that you own. You're going to actually put in a number if you're porting over numbers. So you'll put in the number, one of the numbers that you're porting over that you want John Smith to use. If you're getting new numbers from net2phone, then you could type in new number, and what we'll do is we'll assign your caller ID to the new number once that new number is assigned. So if you're porting a number and you know the number you want the caller ID to be when making an outbound call from John Smith, you go ahead and put that in. If you're getting new numbers from net2phone, you go ahead and type in just new number, and we'll assign the proper caller ID. Phone model, usually if you're getting net2phone phones, you're going to get a Polycom phone. So you could put in what type of Polycom phone you got, which should be on your order. Usually the most common one is VVX 400. Here we'll put in the email address, and remember that this email address is specific to, this email will be the email that your voicemails get sent to. So you want to put in the right email address so that when you receive a voicemail on your extension, you'll be able to get that voicemail sent to you by email. And MAC address is only if you're bringing your own device. So if you're not getting a phone from net2phone, but you're bringing your own phone and it's a supported phone that net2phone supports for configurations, you would provide the MAC address off that phone so that we could go ahead and give you a proper provisioning template. But generally speaking, you don't need this if you're getting phones from net2phone. You could just skip over this. So we could fill in a couple more. We'll make this extension 3002. This will be a new number, and this will be a VVX 410 instead. Obviously, these are fake emails that I'm just using for example, and you would go ahead and fill that in for all of your for all of the employees in your account, and fill in their names, their extension numbers, the caller ID, and which phone should be assigned to them that you purchased. And once again, fill in the MAC address only if you're bringing your own device. Next, we'll jump over to the numbering tab. So the numbering tab is to show all the numbers that you're going to need for your account. If you're porting numbers over, you would type in that they're being ported, and you would, if you're getting new numbers, you'll give some information about that. So let's show how that works. I'll put in that I'm porting in a number. This will be a voice number. I'm not using it for fax. If you purchase net2phone fax service, you would put in which number would be for the fax service, but for here, I'm using this number for voice. Since I'm porting the number, I don't have to put the area code. Area code's only if I'm getting a new number. That area code would tell me what's the preferred area code that I want. I'll put in the phone number that I'm porting over. Number points 2 tells us where should this number go to. So when somebody actually calls a number, where does it go to? I'm going to say that this should go to my auto attendant. And what should be the name of the company? So once again, in our example here, I called it Test Company Co. So I would write in Test Company Co. And that would be what's displayed when I dial out and I'm using this number as my caller ID. What would happen is that it would show Test Company Co. as the name if the person you're calling has caller ID functionality that supports the name. And then I would go ahead and put the address that I would want to be used for 911 purposes. This is very important. This is the address that if you make a phone call using this phone number, we're going to map that phone number to this address. So if you call 911 from this phone number, the 911 service will show this address. So make sure that you fill this in properly and that the phone number represents the actual location of the users using this phone number. So let's fill out a couple more. I'll put in ported again. I'll do another voice number. I'll put in an 800 number. We'll say that this phone number will go to my user over here, John Smith. So I'll write John, and in fact, it's pulling an example here, but my user was 3001, so John 3001. For this one, I wanted to show Test Company code, but for this number, just for showing something different, I'll actually say that it will show John Smith as the name. Usually you wouldn't do that. Usually you would have Test Company code as the caller ID. And once again, we'll use the same address. Make sure that it's proper. So I'm going to change this up to 123 Main Street, make sure the address is right. We'll get a new number for a fax line, and we'll ask for a 917 area code. I don't need to fill this out because I'm not porting the number. I'm getting a new number here, and I'll say number points to fax line. And outbound caller ID over here will say Test Company Co. once again, and the address we'll put down also as 123 Main Street. So you can fill this in for all the different numbers that you get. We'll do one more number also just to show, because we're going to have ring groups. So I'll do new voice. Here I'll ask for a 646 number. I'm not porting, and I'll say this should go to sales ring group. And I'll show you what that means in a minute. And these two we'll just copy down as well. Okay, next we're going to go to Ring Groups tab over here. So I'm going to click on the Ring Groups tab. And this gives me the ability to create a ring group so that I could have multiple users ring at the same time. So if you remember, I created John Smith and Jane Foster. You could have many more users obviously here. So I'll type in here for this ring group, I'm going to call my ring group sales. And I'll put in here user John Smith. And I'll put Jane Foster for extensions 3001 and 3002. And then in the notes, I'll say what I want to happen. So I'm going to say when someone calls the ring group number, call John and Jane for 4 rings, then send the caller to Jane's voicemail. So this is what would happen if somebody calls the ring group sales, and you could see that it will call both of them at the same time, and then when nobody answers, it will go to Jane's voicemail. This is the ring group called sales. So if you remember when we created this new number that's going to go to the sales ring group, so when they call this new number that's going to get assigned, this is what's going to happen. And you could scroll down and make many ring groups, so you could have we could create another one called ring group support. And then let's pretend we had another employee. So we'll do John Smith again for support. And then we'll have Amy Johnson for extension 3003. And once again, we could do the same thing when someone calls ring group, call John and Amy, and then four rings, and then send the caller to John's voicemail. And you could create many ring groups if you need them. So if you scroll down, you'll see there's multiple ring groups down below if you need. Next, we go to the auto attendant tab. And on the auto attendant tab, basically you have the ability to have an auto attendant, a welcome greeting when somebody calls in. The first thing on top is you could set your open hours. So if you want to have a different auto attendant for open versus closed, you could set that. You want to make sure that you set your GMT time correct. This is set to Eastern right now, but if you're on the West Coast or the like, you could change this to -8 instead, or put in your time zone. So we're going to go ahead and set the start and open and close times. So I'll say 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. So, or we'll do Monday through Thursday. And then for Friday, we'll do 9 a.m. and we'll close early. We'll do 3 p.m. And then Saturday, we're not open at all, so we won't put anything in there. And Sunday. And then down here, we put our open script and our close script. What this does is it gives us the ability to kind of visualize what we would want ahead of, what the recording should say. So we could say, once again, we called this company Test Company Co. So you could say, you have reached Test Company Co. If you know your party's extension, you may dial it at any time. Then you could say for sales, press 1. For support, press 2. And then you could say to speak to Jane, press 3. Or stay on the line to speak to sales. Something like that. Obviously, this is just fake. So now when we scroll down here to auto attendant open, we have these options. So we said for sales, press 1. So we'll say 1, we're going to go to the sales ring group. 2, we're going to go to the support ring group. 3, we're going to go to, what did I call Jane? Sorry. Jane Foster. So we're going to go to Jane Foster. And then we said, or stay on the line to speak to sales. So we'll just put down here, timeout, meaning that they didn't press anything, and that will go to sales ring group. And then we have the same thing over here with closed. So we could say here, you could make something different. You could say you have reached Test Company Co. We are currently closed. And then you could say like, if you know your party's extension, you may dial it now. Otherwise, please call during open hours. Something like this. And then once again, they could dial. Or if you want to have any options such as, press 0 to leave a voicemail, something like that, you could do that. So that's basically that. That's setting up the auto attendants. So filling this out will make it much simpler. The team will set that up properly. And now we'll go over to the button section. So for the button sections, what you want to do is you want to fill in how you want your buttons to be configured. As I mentioned, the most general phone is the VVX 400 or 410. It looks like this, you could see on the side. So you could scroll to the VVX 400 and decide what type of button formats you want. You have the ability to register to multiple lines. So for example, John could also have Jane's phone line on his phone. He also could go ahead and just see if Jane is on the phone or not. And he also could have park buttons. What a park button is that you could place somebody on hold by a park button and then tell somebody else in your office to pick up park one. You'll see that somebody's parked because the light will light up red. So let's go ahead and do the most common thing. The most common thing is just to have presence, which means that you see if somebody else is on the phone. So we'll do exactly what we just said, which was we had John Smith and Jane Foster. So you could go ahead and put John Smith presence, Jane Foster. And then I think we also had an Amy Johnson. So let's go ahead and do that. Amy Johnson. And then we'll get a Park 1 and a Park 2 button. And up here you can see key 1 is the person who's using the phone's actual phone line. So that will give the ability for them to have the actual phone line. Obviously, if you're a bigger company, in most cases you'll use these buttons, you'll be able to monitor more people. And if you're as you can see, if you have the VVX 500 or 600, you could fill out your buttons over here, as well as if you have an expansion module that looks like this with the 3 pages, you could go ahead and fill out the buttons how you want it, so that we could configure that for you. So by filling out all these pages properly and doing exactly what we just went over, you'll make sure that when the phones arrive, your phone system is completely set up the way you want, and that the turn-up engineer who will set up your phone system will have all the information to create your account how you like it. Please reach out if you have any questions to pm@net2phoneoffice.com. Once again, that's pm@net2phoneoffice.com. We're here to assist you with anything you need. Thank you.